Welcome to another episode of GLATA Member Spotlights. In this episode, the GLATA Advocacy Committee's very own Kylie Gulliver speaks with Amanda Brown about her experiences as an athletic trainer in the armed forces setting and her involvement in the NATA Council on Practice Advancement. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you like the content we're putting out.
So what led me to the profession of athletic training? Well, I grew up in Michigan, so I attended a lot of Michigan State sporting events, and there was one game in particular where there was a pretty significant injury in one of the end zones, and I saw the medical staff running out onto the field. And at that time, I really didn't have any idea who they were. So I remember after the game, I was talking with my mom, and she was the one that said, well, they were probably athletic trainers that were responding to that injury. And so basically since that injury and since that experience, I was with my dad at the time, but since that kind of whole experience of watching that injury unfold and them taking care of it, I knew that athletic training was where I was going to go, just from the balance of, medical care and sports. So that's kind of what sparked it. So Mark Coberly has hands down been the biggest mentor of my career thus far, and he's the director of sports medicine at Iowa State University. And along with him, the entire staff at Iowa State while I was there has been tremendous in helping shape and build my career. So them together um, probably are the biggest like mentors and peers that have helped shaped me. He probably doesn't know this, but Mark has a constant voice in my head, basically like telling me how to make decisions and what to do from a managerial standpoint and a leadership standpoint and even a clinical decision making standpoint. So um, he still kind of resonates with me in a lot of the things that he taught me. So he's by far my biggest mentor. So probably the biggest highlight of my career thus far, I would have to say, has been establishing the athletic training services of the Human Performance Program at CIAD Great Lakes. So CIAD is the Center for Explosive Ordnance and Disposal at Great Lakes Naval Station. So it's kind of one step in the pipeline of the students that I work with and the candidates that I work with. And when I started here, there really wasn't anything from an athletic training standpoint. So I it was more of an evaluate and refer type system. And when I started just over 3 years ago, I really took that and ran with it and kind of established this whole system of athletic training services. So I now have morning treatment, morning clinic hours where I treat the candidates that are still in class and in training. And then I have a separate time in the afternoon where I treat those candidates that are awaiting instruction or awaiting to class up into the next class or the next group of training. And so um, I basically deal with all of the orthopedic treatments and rehabs. I work closely with my supervising physician, and I've really developed a very good network of other healthcare providers that work with us and help us in terms of, quick referrals and quick evaluations from an orthopedic standpoint. And so I feel like I've really developed kind of this, sports medicine um, setup of healthcare services to the candidates that I work with daily, and in conjunction with all the staff too. So active duty staff members that I work with, I help them out too. So it's not just about the students here, which is something that I don't think they're quite used to.
Yeah.
So I think that has been helpful. But I say that all with a caveat because I couldn't have done any of that without my experiences learned and gained while working, at Iowa State for the decade that I was there. So I guess maybe twofold in that, where it's, my time at Iowa State because it shaped me so much, and then just being able to use that to do what I've done here in the 3+ years that I've been here. So Topics that have sparked interest for me, I've always had a big interest in lumbopelvic um, rehab.
Yeah.
And so being able to continue to develop and fine tune kind of those evaluation skills and those rehab skills relating to that area is something that I have found extremely useful for this setting. In conjunction with that, I think that any like military research that is directly related to the military is something that I've gained a new interest in for obvious reasons. But yeah, so I guess I just continue to look for new research or things that apply or could directly relate to the military setting. Has kind of been a new interest for me. So, in terms of advice for young professionals and new graduates, the quote "experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted" comes to mind, and that's something that I've relied on when I was a young professional. Is you try and take every experience and every potentially negative experience and turn it into something positive and something learned. And so I think that that's probably the best advice I could give, is that you find kind of the silver lining in every situation and learn and grow from it. So you're going to have some times when you don't get what you want, when you get told no, when you have a bad experience with a patient or a coach or an administrator, and you work through it and then you reflect on it and you learn something from it. I think the biggest hope I have for our profession is that we continue to grow and develop within the healthcare kind of profession as a whole, and really establish ourselves as a known entity in healthcare. And I think that will help do wonders for some of the things that we've really struggled with, which is like salaries and workload and working hours and work-life balance. At least I hope so. I think the biggest hope that I have for my current, professional setting is that uh, it continues to grow. And like I said, athletic training continues to grow within the military, and athletic trainers kind of are seen as the go-to for sports medicine rehab. So in settings within the military that are highly active and highly physical, I think that they continue to rely heavily on athletic trainers and continue to push the boundary of healthcare, with athletic trainers, and allow them to kind of grow into their own space. So right now, athletic trainers are a little bit limited in kind of the capacity that the military allows them to do within their scope of practice. And so I think that continuing that fight for athletic trainers, and continuing to push that so that one day I can kind of practice to the full scope of my degree. I think that's something that I have for myself. So
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the interesting things about like the newer quote unquote areas of athletic training, right? Like we're trying to embrace these new areas, but people are so uncertain about us. So it's like,
yeah.
what do you think about like what is so different being in the military versus being, say, in a college or a high school? What's that difference look like for you?
So the difference between like a collegiate setting and the military setting is really just a matter of kind of what you're allowed to do in terms of your practice, really. I mean, I'm thankful to work in a setting that is really physical. And
Huh?
so the injuries that I see are pretty similar to certain sports settings. And so it's really been an easy transition for me going from the college setting to this setting, because it is a big overlap. But I've had to do a lot of education, and I've had to do a lot of networking, and I've had to do a lot of setup to kind of get to where I am. And so I think that education is probably like the biggest component lacking in this setting. And then, on top of not only the people that I work with day to day, but just the people within the DHA system not really truly understanding what athletic trainers are capable of, what they're trained to do, what they're qualified and kind of allowed to do within their scope. So the COPA Armed Forces panel, I think their main goal is to provide resources, information in a timely manner to those that need them. So other military athletic trainers, right? Um, in conjunction with that, like right now we have a project going on where we have a survey out. We're trying to kind of get the landscape of the military athletic trainer and what that looks like. Um, and then use that data to try and provide other resources like, hey, most athletic trainers are doing this. Are you doing this? And most athletic trainers in the military are doing this. You know, how do you compare? And, you know, really just giving information to those athletic trainers specific to their setting. So I joined the COPA committee. One, because I like volunteering. I like being a part of the players that kind of make change. So uh, Mark and I always laughed and said, you can't complain about the situation if you're not willing to be a part of the solution, right? So that's one thing that we always talked about. And so volunteering for the NATA has always been something that I've always done, and will continue to do, I think. And two, I realized once I started in this setting that I didn't have anybody that I knew within the military that I could call up and be like, hey, what do you think about this? So it was a huge networking opportunity for me to um, meet other athletic trainers in the military setting and be able to discuss with them like certain things specific to the military setting. So learning about the system in general, you know, just things that other athletic trainers are doing to help them succeed in this setting. Um, so yeah, I would say huge networking component for myself.
What value do you place on memberships like the National Athletic Training Association or the Great Lakes Athletic Training Association, and why do you feel that they're important?
So I think that there is a big value on being an NATA member and then subsequently a GLATA member as well. You know, I think the biggest thing is just networking in general. I think being able to attend the convention and being able to communicate on the different platforms that they have available with other athletic trainers is huge, especially for somebody who works kind of on their own and secluded from other athletic trainers. So I think that's probably the biggest one is just networking and having those people around you are available to ask questions and to ask for feedback and to say, hey, what would you do in this situation? And am I in the wrong or am I in the right? Or, you know, what do you think? So I think, you know, secondary to that, I think the NATA offers a lot of good continuing education, you know, just with convention. And then now that they've opened it up for all of their on-demand stuff, I think that that's huge. And you pay one fee and you could potentially get all of your CEUs done for the year and just by being an NATA member. So I think that that's huge.
If you would like to recommend a colleague or yourself for GLATA member spotlight videos, you can go over to glata.org, look under the Advocacy Committee tab, and click on GLATA AT Spotlight to fill out the form. Until next time, stay great, GLATA.